So before we get into our predictions, what we think that the Seahawks will do against the 49ers this week, we need to talk about the sanctions that came down on the Seahawks from the NFL. All right?
Pete Carroll got sanctions brought against him? No way!
There it is.
No way!
So for violating a no-contact rule on the June 6th organized team activity that they had, the team was fined $400,000. Pete Carroll was fined $200,000. And I think the two most important penalties against the Seahawks are that they are going to lose their 2017 fifth-round draft pick,
which is huge.
Mm-hmm.
And the team will lose an entire week, the entire first week of OTAs in 2017. They're going to lose a pick, they're going to lose gaining a player, and they're going to lose a week of practice. Ugh. All right, what are your thoughts?
So, I guess the NFL seems to be a bit nitpicky. The rule is set so that it can reduce risk of injury, which makes sense, and also so that teams don't have any competitive advantage.
Mm-hmm.
So I get that, but the punishment seems a bit excessive, in my opinion. The money's one thing. I mean, sure, they're able to pay that off and not have to overthink that one, but the other two, I think, are going to affect the Seahawks. The Seahawks were punished for this same violation in 2012, so they know what they're getting themselves into. They know what they got themselves into, but Pete Carroll makes it sound like it's a difficult rule to follow. He says, "I'm really disappointed because we have worked really hard to try to do a great job. We've practiced hard around here, and we always have. We have to do it right, and we have made some strong efforts to do that, but we're still working on it." So it's kind of hard to see where he's coming from. I'm not sure if it's nitpicky, if it's not a very clear rule, but it seems like it's something they've been working on, or maybe, I don't know, maybe Pete Carroll's just blowing smoke, and who knows.
So more typical Pete Carroll attitudes, you mean? Like,
yeah.
Break a bunch of rules, put Reggie Bush and his family in a multi-million-dollar house, and then peace out of USC before the sanctions come down.
Mm-hmm.
You mean something like that?
It's
the Pete Carroll way.
Pete
Carroll walks that line every single year. Now, I'm going to get on the NFL a little bit here. Football is a collision sport. Basketball is a contact sport. Football is a collision sport. Okay? I understand CTE, the movie Concussion, all this stuff, bringing awareness. But here's the deal. Football players are smart. You need to put more power in the hands of the football player in terms of how, when, why they're allowed to hit. I'm sure they're probably just going thud contact, and the league didn't like it. Okay? Because to Pete Carroll, that's probably not full contact. But the league, that is, because you still have collisions and stuff like that. That's fine. But football is a collision, physical sport. It is 6-second controlled street fights before you go back to the huddle for 20 seconds and the play clock runs. Then you go back to the line of scrimmage for another 6-second controlled street fight. Okay? It's physical. Listen, protect the quarterback. I get it. Protect your wideouts. I get it. But why do you think offensive line play is so poor in the league right now? Why do you think it's so poor? Because they can't hit anybody in the league. And hitting someone in college from a 2-point stance, which is what 90% of college programs are running now in the spread no huddle, is completely different than hitting somebody out of a 3-point stance in a pro-style power run game. It's completely different. Ask the Seahawks. Why do you think the Seahawks haven't been able to draft a credible lineman? Why do you think it's taken the Cowboys 4.5 years to get their offensive line solid? Because it takes time in the league and it takes hits. I'm sorry, but that's a part of practice. Does the NFL need to change their rules? Yes. But is Pete Carroll messing around again? Absolutely. Yes.
I like what you said, Drew, about football being a collision sport. You're absolutely right. And to that point, I think Thursday games should be done away with.
Absolutely.
Because in Division III, I play Saturday. I'm sore on Monday. And the NFL is a different league. So in my opinion, that's just kind of to your point there about the physical aspect of football. But I think you have to look at, again, like you said, Pete Carroll's street cred. At USC, he had some sanctions while Pete was the head coach with Reggie Bush, being allowed special benefits, obviously, while playing at USC. The team ended up losing 30 scholarships.
Where's Reggie Bush's Heisman Trophy?
Not in his house. And they were banned from basically bowl games for 2 years. And it's interesting because Bill Belichick and Pete Carroll coached together. And Bill Belichick and Pete Carroll, are kind of 1 and 1A. And I think they both walk that fine line. They enjoy pressing the envelope. They're going to do whatever it takes to kind of get a little bit of an edge on another team. Obviously, Spygate, Deflategate, all that. So in my opinion, you become who you hang around with, and those guys, they want to win so badly that they might kind of press the envelope a little bit too much, and I think that's what happened here.
I'm going to jump real quick on what you said about Thursday night games, and then after that we got to move on to the Seahawks. If the NFL truly cared about player safety, the regular season would be 20 weeks long with about 3 bye weeks in it. You can keep your Thursday night games. You can keep your Monday night games. You can make more money off of TV ratings than selling ads. It makes sense for all parties. They don't do it. Whether you have to take preseason, it's part of what makes the NFL so successful anyway. It's 17 weeks. 16 of those weeks, I have to pay attention one day. That helps people pay attention to the NFL.
Yep.
It makes it easy. Now, for player safety reasons, season should be longer with more bye weeks. Mm-hmm. But they're not going to do it. To me, that doesn't make any sense. All right, let's talk about the Seahawks. Let's move forward. The Seahawks play the 49ers this weekend at home. So, Lacey, what's going to happen?
Well, shoot, guys, I was pretty confident last week that the Hawks were going to beat the Rams, but I'm not giving up hope just yet. The season is just getting started, so I'm going to say the Hawks will beat the 49ers, but they will beat the 49ers. I'm going to go with Drew. Drew always says it's a quarterback's league, am I right? But I got some evidence to back that up. So it's quarterback's league. The 49ers QB, Blaine Gabbert, is not very effective, not very efficient. In the last 6 years of the league, he's played in 39 games and thrown for only 36 touchdowns. So even just those numbers right there, you can see he's not very effective. To put that in perspective, Cam Newton was drafted the same year, 2011, and has played in 80 games and thrown for 122 touchdowns. So you see kind of the difference there with a much more efficient quarterback. Russell Wilson has played in 66 games and thrown for 107 touchdowns. I think quarterbacks league, Wilson's got the experience, and I think they're gonna win this one.
Blaine Gabbert has thrown as many touchdowns as points scored by the Seahawks last game.
That's a good point. Blaine Gabbert's thrown 3 touchdowns this year, and Russell Wilson's only thrown 1. So
it's
quarterback's league.
And how
is
many
it a
points
quarterback?
did the Seahawks score against the awful Rams? How many points, Lacey? How many points? 3. You know how many points the Niners scored? Oh yeah, they shut them out.
Okay,
That's
well,
not how many points they scored, Drew. Kellen, what do you think will happen? 28.
28, excuse me.
There you go.
On Sunday, the Seahawks will win, but
Oh, God.
major but after. I must say, I've been extremely impressed, and I hope this doesn't boost your ego here, Drew, with the 49ers so far.
I'm not boosted at all. The Niners are awful.
Let me speak. 28-0 against the Rams. Impressive. Anytime you shut out a team in the NFL, that's impressive. You think of how good field goal kickers are, and again, you're a professional. That's impressive, a shutout. And they hung with the Panthers for 3 quarters. Again, Cam Newton, MVP last year. The Panthers made it to the Super Bowl. I like what Chip Kelly has been doing with this team. And again, you look at all the distractions that are going on right now with the whole Colin Kaepernick kneeling situation when it comes to the American flag. So I think Chip Kelly has done a really, really good job of kind of keeping everything in-house. That's really hard to do in the NFL with all the egos going on, all the press, all that kind of stuff. If this game was played in California, I would honestly pick the 49ers, as hard as that is. As much as of a Hawks fan that I am, I would pick, just the way that it's been going, I would pick the Niners. But again, CenturyLink Field is so hard to play at. I believe the Hawks are going to win. It's going to be extremely low scoring. I'm going to go Hawks 13, 49ers 10.
Wow. So big surprise here. I think the Niners will win and the Seahawks will lose. The Hawks can't figure out what they're doing offensively. They have no flow. Russell Wilson has been subpar because he's been running for his life. You can't score 3 points in a game. That's a la Colin Kaepernick of last year. It's not going to help you at all. I don't think it's all Russell Wilson's fault. I think it's on the O-line. We've talked about the O-line struggles in here for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. It's a problem. I think it can make Russell Wilson just as dangerous as it can make him terrible. And you can't score. You can't be held to 3 points by a team that the team you're playing on has hung 28 on. And it is a quarterback's league, Lacey, and I completely agree with you. But at the end of the day, whatever quarterback Chip Kelly has touched in his entire life has turned to gold. If you look at all the Philadelphia quarterbacks, they had their highest percentages and efficiency and best statistics under him, and Blaine Gabbert is on his way to do the very, very same thing. I think that the Niners quarterback play is only going to improve. He's making Blaine Gabbert the best Blaine Gabbert can be. Is Russell Wilson a better quarterback than him? Yes, but Russell Wilson can't be the best quarterback he can be right now. So the Seahawks will lose. The Niners will win. Niners 24-10.
I think it's a situation of give to get. You give a game to get more games, right? Russell Wilson should have sat out against the Rams. He was not nearly as effective as he could have been. Couldn't move. He got beat up in the pocket, which leads me to this Sunday. On Sunday, the Seahawks will lose. They're not going to win. There's not enough. I mean, they just haven't been good enough for you to have, for anyone to have any faith in what they're going to do against the 49ers. Fair or foul?
I think it's fair.
Okay, so the team is averaging 7.5 points per game. Now, granted, there's 2 games, but still, that's good enough for 31st in the NFL. It's bad, okay? The 49ers are averaging 27.5 points per game. That's 9th best in the NFL. That'll work. I'll take 27 a game. Granted, 2 games, small sample size. But they're scoring, right? The Seahawks aren't at all. The Seahawks are passing for 239.5 yards per game. Okay. That's 21st best in the league. The team is rushing for 89.5 yards per game. That's 18th best in the league. Russell Wilson isn't healthy. He didn't get healthier by playing last Sunday. The offensive line, I mean, part of Russell Wilson is the elusiveness. Now it's gone. And he's going to get beat up in the pocket. The offensive line isn't good enough to run the football. They're going to have to pass the football. Mm-hmm. It doesn't look, even if the Seahawks are at home, it does not look good for the Seahawks. Nothing's convincing. Nothing says, yeah, they're going to win. To me, nothing says that. Nothing. There's no obvious, yeah, they should beat this team.
That's why if they were playing away, I think they would lose.
So okay, so the home field advantage is going to have that much of an effect to where all of a sudden Russell Wilson can move around like the way he's able to. The offensive line will create enough space for Thomas Rawls or Christine Michael to find a hole and run.
I mean, the Niners have consistently struggled at ceiling, Christian. So I mean, I will give home field advantage. And on the betting lines, like I've always said, home field advantage is good enough for a 3-point line. You get 3 extra points to your name if you play at home. And, you know, I think home field advantage is a big deal, especially at C-Link, especially when you're the Niners coming here. It is a rough time being a 49er in the city of Seattle.
So
yes, we're going with that narrative.
Yes.
Talk about it, but the execution on the field, the noise or whatever is going to affect how the Seahawks play offensively. It's not the Seahawks defense. There's reason to believe that they're good enough to win football games.
Yeah.
It's the offense. And the crowd's going to be quiet while the offense is on the field.
Well, I think there's a
comfortability
factor when it comes to if I'm, Doug Baldwin, if I'm Curse, you're at home, you're where your heart is, if you will. The line might play a little bit harder than they do on the road, which isn't fair. I mean, you should play hard no matter where you're playing. But I think when you're at home, I believe that you play better. And again, if this was, a random football stadium, but this is C-Link, this is a different culture in Seattle.
I don't necessarily, I do believe you're right. Home field advantage, the 12s, it's going to play a role, but I don't think it's going to play so much of a role that the execution from the Seahawks gets drastically better.
Gotcha.